environmental issues and how to resolve them. In 1991, the board established the stormwater utility, the county-wide stormwater utility. And why was that important? First of all, we were among the first in the state, but that was important because it created a dedicated source and mechanism to establish dedicated revenue to be able to implement a stormwater management program in the county. So it's been very, very, very instrumental. In the last 30 plus years, we've actually invested over $1 billion in a stormwater management infrastructure. And by 1993, for example, we started using hydraulic and hydrologic models to simulate the performance of stormwater management systems and to be able to come up with improvements, changes in requirements, et cetera. So a lot has been done, and it's been done over the years. Fast forward into the more recent past, in 2021, July of 2021, a couple of things happened which are important, and that is the creation of the Biscayne Bay Watershed Management Advisory Board. And Dave, I don't know where Dave went. There he is. Anyways, so it was created with the idea of targeting any and all things important to Biscayne Bay and being sure that there was that dedicated attention to what's happening with Biscayne Bay and how issues can be resolved. In the same year, September of 2021, the county completed a comprehensive update of all the stormwater master plans, the entire county-wide. And we came up with a number of recommendations. Some were regulatory implementations, like the update to the county flow criteria using a 2060 scenario. We updated the water control map for the county using a 2060 scenario, since we actually modeled current 2040, 60, 80, and 2100. And we identified, obviously, we updated our capital improvement plan, of which we have 34 million plus in projects right now in procurement from implementation of projects, contracting those projects out. And we also identified a number of requirements and standards that we felt were important from a technical point of view to be able to move forward and improve on performance of our systems, given hydrologic and hydraulic condition changes over the years. Those requirements you'll see actually included in what we're calling the impervious area ordinance. And the last point that I'm making there, in 2022, there were recommendations by the advisory board that made it through the Board of County Commissioners. And those recommendations had to do with how to deal with and how to improve the efficiency of essentially of maintenance of a stormwater infrastructure. Those recommendations are also part of the impervious area ordinance. So if you ask me, what's the theme of the impervious area ordinance? What is it that we're doing? In a few words, we are improving water quality and we're improving and increasing flood control. But then you can say, but we've been doing that for a while, and indeed we have, actually. That's been our theme for a while. That's the theme of Chapter 24 of the County Code. So what is different about the impervious area ordinance? Well, a couple of things that are important. We are being very comprehensive, and I'll explain to you why. We are trying to be very explicit in the 70 plus pages that we have out there for the ordinance. And we're also increasing the standard quite a bit in a number of areas, especially water quality, and that's one of the areas I know the audience is very interested in. So, quickly summarizing, what are we doing scope-wise? We're modifying or updating 3 existing chapters of the County Code. Chapter 24, our environmental chapter, Chapter 30, and that has applicability county-wide, incorporated and unincorporated areas. We are making some changes in chapter 33, which is the planning, only applicability in unincorporated areas. And we're doing some changes on 8CC, which just deals with civil penalties as they relate to newer standards that were being introduced in the impervious ordinance. We've done a lot of reformatting. We've done a lot of technical changes. We've updated Chapter 24 because there's been a number of related updates that have happened since it was last done. And we've also doing a lot of updates in the standards, and I'll get a little bit more into that in a second. So really quickly, this slide, I'm assuming this is available to all of you, so you can look at this, at your own pace. But essentially what I want to say is, I'm sorry, I have 2 minutes? Right side up is better. Yes. Okay. I have 2 minutes now. All right. So I can turn myself upside down, but anyway, just want to emphasize that these changes are prospective. So we've done, like I said, we did a lot of workshopping on this ordinance. We want to make sure that what's being worked on, designed, etc., is today will not get impacted. So most of the changes take into effect in March of next year. And then we have a number of specific changes that deal with municipalities that will be phased in the next couple of years beyond that. Since I only have a couple of minutes, I'll speed it up. So I like this slide because if you think about the impervious area ordinance, what is it? If I were to capture that in one image, is any of the two photos that you see on the right-hand side of the screen. That's what we're trying to avoid. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, especially Miami-Dade County, we've had, some of the municipalities do not have these conditions, others do, in that we have really not had a permitting review or permitting process for increases in impervious area. That's why we nicknamed the ordinance impervious area ordinance, because this is something that is very important. We recognize that we can work on the stormwater management infrastructure on the roads. Yes, that's definitely an important element, but we really have to look at stormwater management at the parcel level. So that's where this becomes very, very important. We're allowing municipalities to do their own review if they choose to do that. Otherwise, the county will have the authority to do it. And regardless of what gets approved, the county would always have the authority to go back and address flooding or water quality issues that come up, regardless of what has been approved. We are introducing the authority by the county to receive asset information from operators and owners of stormwater management systems, essentially the municipalities. We're also addressing their system performance in a process to certify and recertify their utilities. And you'll see here there is a list of the items that we consider important, like a stormwater master planning, capital improvement, having a fiscal analysis that shows that indeed you're building what you set out to build, and also continue this sharing of information on maintenance records and asset information. We have many other requirements like retention at the single lot level. That's something that we haven't done before. Again, this applies countywide. The use of green infrastructure, the setting of minimum permeability requirements so that it's not just soil and grass, but you can use pavers, for example, as long as they meet a certain permeability and they're constructed and maintained as we're calling out in the ordinance. We're also increasing retention requirements if additional volumes of direct discharges are desired. And then I'm not going to go through this. This really deals with more specifically on water quality standards that were implemented. And the key thought is that the post-development should be the same or better than the pre-development. And we are establishing a number of settings and standards as minimum standards that even exceed what the state is planning to implement, or I guess has been approved but not signed at this point. This is just about the zoning changes, and I think that my minute, the one is okay upside down and right side up. So here you go.
Amazing. Thank you. This is actually one of the big themes from the last summit was stormwater, 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 right? And I want to give a lot of credit to county staff. I think we may have pushed, but we also gave them the breathing room in order to think about how we do this. And they've taken their time to make sure that this is good, solid policy. And so I'm thrilled the county staff is also so supportive of making the changes that are necessary. So thank you very much, Durham, for working so hard on this. I know there was a lot of work that went into this. I am very excited now to introduce another friend of ours, Laura Eldridge, who has been working on the marine debris working group plan. I needed to look at my glasses. So Laura's official title is Restoration Enhancement Section Chief of Miami-Dade County. And so do you want to come tell us, Laura, about the Marine Debris Working Group, which we have spent a good amount of time working on this comprehensive plan or this thought? Here you go. You gotta speak into the microphone because we're recording.
Okay, we're gonna figure this out.
Do you want me to advance your slides?
Sure.
You just
Awesome.
just give me
I'll give you okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for sticking through to the end. Really appreciate it. I'm sure the happy hour helps. So my name is Laura Eldridge. I'm the Restoration Enhancement Section Chief at Miami-Dade County, Durham. And so what that means is I deal with anything related to surface waters with Miami-Dade County. So in, on, over, and adjacent to. And so my team, some of them are with us here today, including some award winners. We do monitoring, ecological monitoring and restoration of those habitats. And we also monitor the species within those habitats as well. So yeah, let's get into the planning team. Maybe. There we go. Yeah, so Marina really did a good job setting the stage. We talked a little bit about the Biscayne Bay Task Force. So in 2022, the Board of County Commissioners approved the 61 recommendations that were created by the Biscayne Bay Task Force. They had 7 overarching policy themes, and as we see here, the 5th one was associated with marine debris. And that was really because of the impact, right? That's such a huge amount of impact on our waterways. One of the recommendations was to create a marine debris working group, which was then subsequently titled the Marine Debris Planning Team, which initiated meetings in July of 2022. So we've been lucky enough, I'll give it a second. There we go. Thank you, Dave. We've been lucky enough to have representation from multiple agencies, nonprofits, and a corporation with experience in public engagement, infrastructure like stormwater systems, land management, strategic planning, and ecosystem research. So this was a publicly run sunshine meeting. So we had the capability of having any of these entities and also the public attend as well, which is really beneficial. So our team members include Dave Dobler here today from volunteercleanup.org. So thanks, Dave. Go back. Thank you. So as per the Biscayne Bay Task Force recommendations, a main focus of the Marine Debris Planning Team was to generate this comprehensive marine debris plan, or action plan as we like to call it. So when the team initiated monthly meetings to then work on the plan, we quickly realized that action and results were needed and needed to be enacted immediately. And we didn't want to wait until the plan was completed to start working on some of these goals. So concurrent to plan development, the team successfully initiated the county's first Ghost Trap Rodeo. That was last year. It was also the kickoff event to our Biscayne Bay Friendly campaign launch, which was awesome. And so the planning team members quickly galvanized their resources to be able to jump into action and have this event take place during the 10-day closure window that happens every other year, the odd years, in July. The team's future actions include, you can see here, and then those efforts will go towards planning for the next Ghost Trap Rodeo. So we are trying to make this something that becomes recurring in those odd years. We're also currently discussing the potential to have increased removal efforts by those entities that are permitted to do so anytime outside of this 10-day closure. Thank you. So team members also recognize that some of the main sources of debris, like through stormwater conveyance and also spoil island use, are generated through boating activities, and those also need immediate actions. So our team member, Dave Dobler, reached out to Leave No Trace. And again, this is a nonprofit organization. And asked them really to come to the meeting, come to our planning team meetings and discuss, what is Leave No Trace really all about? And that actually led to them coming down to Miami, which was wonderful. They held what they call a spotlight event. This is a free event that they run for us, and it's focused on 3 events in this series. So one looking at stewardship, one focusing on outreach, and another on training. And this really helped them come down to us and have us start those discussions, laying the groundwork, bringing the awareness to our issues and protecting our vital natural resources. So future efforts, as you see here, are continuing based off what's already been initiated with the City of Miami, as you've heard about today. So continuing to define how any entity could also become a full partner or potentially contract out Leave No Trace's services for what they call an audit of priorities. Anyone can do that. We also hope to continue to support City of Miami with their resolution and administrative policy to further develop the incorporation of Leave No Trace in their park spaces and spoil islands. And they just had a kickoff event last weekend, so congratulations to them. Leave No Trace is actually really interested in coming down and doing more for us. So they're willing to provide these community partnerships, which is the next level up from a spotlight. And they've reached out to Miami-Dade County, Debris Free Oceans, and DEP Biscayne Bay Aquatic Preserve, because those were the 3 hosting entities for these 3 events. And so they're willing to come back. They've actually discussed with us and presented what they call a scope of work for these potential consulting services to take it to the next level. So the plan itself has gone through multiple discussions amongst team members and is nearly complete, we're excited to say. The plan is made up over 80 action ideas and goals that we've split into 6 categories. So 3 you see here. So we're saying land-based and marine-based sources of pollution. So these are targeting things like derelict vessels, derelict traps, and properly disposed of picnic items, along with stormwater infrastructure upgrades and illegal dumping. We've also got the third based on research integration. So understanding that we need to learn more about the gaps in data, the gaps in information, but also where is the debris coming from, how much debris, what are the types of debris, making sure that we're pulling in those data pieces. The other 3 are waste reduction and circularity, community action and education, which we know is vital to the successfulness of implementing these types of ideas and changes. And then, of course, administration. So you can see some of the things here, pulling out the plastic-free 305 ideas, also looking at how we can pull procurement team. So thinking about overall waste reduction and use, pulling out the idea of Leave No Trace, of course, as I highlighted before. How do we make that into something that can be countywide? How do we pull into other natural resource and area owning entities and agencies, and then administration? So we're also looking at things like increasing fees in certain access points. We're thinking about the fact that the parking spaces are actually what is a per parking spot fee instead of a per vessel fee. So if a jet ski vendor is coming in with 6 jet skis on a trailer, they're only paying for 1 parking spot instead of 6 vessels. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I hope that we'll get your support for this plan. If you have any other advice, like we said, this is really a plan for the people. That's one of the main things. And this team is for the people as well. We can have anyone come in and join the team and have their ideas discussed with us. We also want to make sure that the plan itself is basically amorphous over time. It's checked in as things are completed. We can add more. It's not something that is written once and then that's the end of it, and we try to work towards completion. It's something that we can continue to have, so it maintains the fact that it can be comprehensive and it can also be adaptable over time. And that's really key. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Amazing. Excellent. So there's going to be a lot of work to do in this plan, and we're going to need everybody's participation in it because everybody has a role to play. Individuals, government, and business. No one entity can solve it alone, but I'm very excited about the progress we're making. All right, so, I'm excited to hear about this one. Maggie Winchester Weiler is the program manager for Florida Conservation, and Emily Milton from programs manager from Big Blue and You, talking about plastic-free cities. I didn't see Maggie today. What happened? No, this is fantastic. No, both the Ocean Conservancy folks. But that's okay. I am thrilled to have you.
Awesome. I'll take the clicker back because my slides are pretty rapid fire. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon while they're sorting that out. Like Dave said, my name is Emily Milton, and it's my pleasure today to speak to you all on behalf of Plastic Free Cities. This is a collaborative youth engagement program by Ocean Conservancy, Debris Free Oceans, and Big Blue and You. And our program empowers and equips local youth to reduce plastic pollution at its source here in our community by working with business owners and elected officials. Oh, there we go. Yay. So, okay, this is me. I won't do too much of an introduction. I know time is of the essence, but I do represent Big Blue and You. So we use arts, science, and media to engage underserved youth in ocean conservation. I hope to connect with many of you all at the happy hour later. Again, I know that's probably what's on everyone's mind at this point. So I'm also just going to breeze through kind of the issue that we're talking about, the issue of plastic pollution, so that we can focus more on the solutions. But just to get everybody on the same page and give you all a bit of context, of course, we're talking about plastic pollution, its impacts on the environment, its impacts on our health, and impacts on the economy. We know that this is a global issue, and we know that it is a growing issue. We know that managing the life cycle of single-use plastics is a concern globally across the US, and of course here locally. So Miami is possibly at a pivotal moment in determining how we are going to manage our waste. So here in Miami, we produce more waste per person per day than the national average. Our recycling rates for single-use plastics are also significantly lower than the national average. We face unique challenges here in Miami and in Florida, not the least of which is the preemptions that were discussed in an earlier session. Again, I don't have time to dive into that specifically, but in the face of preemptions that prevent local legislation, we believe that businesses can take the lead in reducing plastic waste by voluntarily opting for sustainable, lower waste alternatives. And here locally, we have some incredible plastic-free programs, both at the city and the county level. So these programs incentivize and celebrate business owners that are voluntarily making these choices. Now, Plastic Free Cities works in partnership with the county's Plastic Free 305 program. And as I said, this is the youth engagement component that empowers youth to provide businesses with the resources that they need to become eligible for Plastic Free 305. Let's face it, everyone wants to hear the youth perspective on this topic, more so than they want to hear it from me or you. So Plastic Free Cities is a replicable and scalable framework that we've developed for reducing single-use plastic waste at its source. It consists of training, consulting the businesses, engaging the broader community, and then a peer-to-peer mentorship program, which really closes that loop to allow the youth to continue to inspire their peers to take this sort of environmental action. Over the past 2 years, well, almost 2 years, since 2022, we've worked with 5 local high schools, engaging almost 200 students. And the schools that we've worked with, you'll see, are a little bit more inland, and they're schools that are close in proximity to the Miami River. And that was intentional to engage communities that have been historically underrepresented in ocean conservation topics. These are also communities that many of us in the room know are at the forefront of the issues and the impacts that are created by the life cycle of single-use plastics. So we host 5 training workshops at the schools. The bread and butter of the training portion of the program is really this crash course in plastic-free business. So the students learn all sorts of strategies that they can then talk with business owners about, such as, of course, reducing single-use plastic purchasing, replacing those items with reusables or more sustainable alternatives, and then properly managing the waste that is unable to be eliminated. Next, after 5 weeks of training, the students are ready to hit the streets. So we head out and we take these junior sustainability consultants out into the neighborhood. Our consulting really takes a hyper-local approach. So the businesses that these students are consulting are literally right across the street or right around the corner from their school. And that really serves to help them build relationships and make it very, very relevant for both the student and the business owner. So as you can see, we're quite a scene out there with our matching t-shirts and our cart full of sustainable business samples that we can offer the businesses for free, but we have a lot of fun with it. The students also offer businesses a multitude of resources that really want to, consider the business's financial needs, how they can save money over time, how they can, reduce their purchasing, switching towards reusables. The students also emphasize to the businesses the perks that they can gain through, as we said, voluntarily reducing their plastics. This includes the recognition from the county, promotion by our organizations, continued consulting for free, as well as stipends that we have available for them both through our grant funding and through partnering organizations. During the first consultation visit, the students really gather data and build that relationship, and then they come back for a second consultation with these tailored custom recommendations on how the business can reduce waste and further steps for the next steps for further opportunities. In the meantime, the students are also planning and hosting a community event. Through these events, they inspire their classmates and their families to participate and take action. They also utilize the events as a way to promote the businesses that they've worked with through plastic-free catering opportunities. And through these events, so far, the students have engaged over 2,000 community members. And then something I'm really excited to announce is that through this program, the students have identified a reduction in over 581,000 single-use plastic items in Doral alone, and that's annually. And those are through those voluntary business choices. So it's been incredibly impactful, and we can't wait to see what these student leaders will continue to do. On that note, it's been incredible to receive recognition from the cities and have them be engaged with these student leaders. So both the cities of Doral and Hialeah have recognized the impact that these young leaders have had in their communities through official tributes. As well as Doral Councilwoman Maureen Porras actually came with us and our students to go and consult the business owners, and that was extremely impactful. After spending that afternoon with us, she put forth a resolution in the city of Doral to a resolution in support of the county's Plastic-Free 305 program, and it passed unanimously. So that was really very exciting to see. And of course, the program is having a positive impact on the youth participants as well. So they have self-reported an increase in their concern about plastic pollution, significant increases in their knowledge of the solutions to plastic pollution, as well as increases in relevant skills such as public speaking and their comfort with public speaking, which we know is very important for them to be able to spearhead further environmental action. And finally, the mentorship component. Like I said, this really closes the loop and allows the students that participate in our program to inspire the next cohort of students. So they continue consulting businesses. They may recruit their friends and family. Many of them have started their own projects that are tangential to plastic-free cities, but using what they learned in our program. So it's been really impactful to see, again, what these students have done and what they'll continue to do. And also, all of the resources that we've developed are open source and available to the public. So right now, we have our Plastic-Free Cities training manual available in both English and Spanish. And this manual is, it can be used by any individual just to learn more, but it can also help any club, classroom, or municipality that wants to operate a similar program you're free to learn from what we've developed so far. And then at the culmination of our grant term in a few months, we'll also be offering lesson plans that are aligned with Florida educational standards so that plastic-free cities can be taught in classrooms, as well as our full training curriculum will be available at that time. So thank you so much for your time, and let's build plastic-free cities together.
Fantastic. Millie, thank you so much. I'm so impressed with the work that Big Blue and You is doing, along with the other partner organizations, Ocean Conservancy and Debris Free Ocean. So good job. I'm just absolutely floored by everything that individuals and groups are working on, right? So good stuff. All right. So our last presentation is going to be from Jasmine Locke Rodriguez. She is the founder and CEO of Phytoflora by Green Thumb Strategies. And this was something that some of our steering committee members were really excited to hear. So fortunately, we're recording all these sessions. So please come tell us what you got.
Big titles to fill. Hi, everybody. Last, but hopefully not least, and then we're almost out of here. I'm excited to tell you about productive floating wetlands and how they could be a cost-effective strategy for enhancing water quality in the Biscayne Bay watershed. My name is Jasmine Locke Rodriguez. I am also a postdoc at FIU with the Institute of Environment, which is where I recently graduated doing my dissertation work on this research, and has also laid the foundation and inspiration for creating a startup company called Phytoflora, where we can potentially explore scaling this application. Well, again, we figured this clicker out. I think it's safe to assume most of us know what nutrient pollution is in this room. We've heard about it a few times through the day. I think outside of plastic pollution, nutrient pollution is probably one of the biggest issues we face for a lot of our aquatic ecosystems. Essentially, fertilizers and other types of urban debris that's run off into our waterways that was otherwise supposed to fertilize crops can instead fuel something else, algae, and cause other issues such as eutrophication, leading to hypoxic conditions, which can degrade our water quality, lead to fish kills, which we've seen in Biscayne Bay in the past couple years, and can also lead to no swim advisories and potential beach foreclosures, which we haven't exactly seen in Miami, but all to say these impact major industries such as tourism, recreation, et cetera, leading, which are the makeup of our $64 billion valuable resource of the Biscayne Bay. So one of the biggest natural resources we have to combat this, of course, are nature's solution, wetlands. Unfortunately, due to development, wetlands have been largely crowded out. And so we often look to constructed wetlands to help us be able to bring this natural resource, which are essentially using plants to help clean these nutrients out of the water as they run off our land and into our ocean. But to keep levels low for our wetland plants, we often need a lot of land and infrastructure to do this. And in tight spaces like urban areas and even on private properties, land is scarce. And so, especially in Miami and South Florida, we often see stormwater ponds and canals to be able to collect this water, although we are often not treating it when it's there. And so floating wetlands offers us an adaptable green infrastructure solution that brings the power of wetlands to small spaces. Essentially, floating wetlands are using buoyant platforms. There are a few different products out there made of different materials to which we plant plants directly into them, and the roots hang into the water like you see here. And they're able to naturally uptake those nutrients like they would in a yard or on a farm and upcycle them into their biomass and help remediate our waterways. Sometimes floating wetlands have even been found to be comparable to constructed wetlands. And this is partially because the roots are directly in the water and they're able to uptake those dissolved pollutants a little easier, and other times even more efficiently. Floating wetlands as a concept has grown and becoming more widely adopted across both the nation and the world. Here are some examples of them in the wild. You can apply them in both brackish water and in fresh water. It's just a matter of what types of plants you use when implementing them. And generally, we want to cover between 10 to 20% of the surface area in order to make a real difference on nutrient reduction. And actually, real quick, just jumping back, on average, floating wetlands have the capacity to remove up to 40% of phosphorus, phosphates, and 50% of nitrates when covering an appropriate amount of the surface area. This is a before and after. This is a company, BMHS, that creates these products, and they're able to also have shown how well you can see the algae on the edges that has been remediated before and after applying floating wetlands. Typically on these platforms, you see traditional wetland plants applied. These are some of those species. And research has found that harvesting the biomass regularly can be pretty important when implementing floating wetlands. That's for a number of reasons. Essentially, one is so that the plants don't die back and fall right back in the water and return all those nutrients right back where they came from. And also for aesthetic purposes. So, we're doing this in largely urban areas and we want to make sure everything looks nice. But of course, harvesting and maintaining them regularly costs money. And so that's where I, coming from actually a sustainable agriculture background, was thought, hey, hydroponics is a thing. Why can't we grow something that we'd want to harvest and sell on these platforms? I started with food, and I realized it might be a little tough to get someone to eat something that we can do on these platforms. And then I learned about cut flowers, and it turns out that Miami is the hub for the cut flower industry for the entire country. We import 90% of our flowers through the Miami International Airport, and there's a huge industry here for assembling bouquets and then shipping them to the rest of the country. So what if we could instead grow flowers locally, reducing that footprint, not only, but also help cleaning water along the way. So as a part of my dissertation work, I did several trials, including in mesocosm tanks, as well as in the field, tested a variety of flowers, including marigolds, sunflowers, and celosia. And those were some of the best that have worked so far. You can see how the roots were still able to grow in the water, and similar to how wetland plants would help clean water, the cut flowers were able to do the same thing and help mitigate the algae from growing in the tanks where no plants were growing at all. So these are some of the metrics and uptake rates found within these trials, though there's still more iterations necessary to really make sure we have these metrics correct. But can't help but get inspired. And so I have done some projections. These are the amount of flowers we were able to produce on a square meter and quantify about how much money we can make in a year growing essentially these flower farms. This turns out actually kind of a low number. As I've been in the flower industry, flowers are expensive, guys, at least good quality ones. So we can make some decent money doing this. And I did do a benefit cost analysis, analyzing if we were to cover 10% of a quarter-acre pond, okay, let's say on a farm where all these nutrients are running into, how much would it cost to implement a floating wetland in the traditional sense with normal wetland plants, and compare that to how much it would cost if we were to be cultivating something on it at the same time. Now, of course, there is more labor involved when we're cultivating something, so that was integrated into this. And the flowers do require a little bit more like a thicker mat, so it can be higher inputs on that. But ultimately, when looking at it over long range, so about 10 years, we can see that we're able to make up all the costs of the installation and then some, ideally making at least a 30% profit on an annual basis once the installations have been recuperated. And so, of course, this inspired me to explore this as a startup as well. Thus, Phytoflora was born, thinking of phytoremediation and flowers. We don't have to just grow flowers, just for the record. We could also look into mangrove saplings and other types of native plants as well that could potentially be uppotted and sold for living shorelines. But essentially, the idea is that we're not only improving water quality, but we are growing viable crops on productive floating wetlands that can remediate nutrient pollution while also creating nature-based products. And ideally, creating jobs as well for the local community at the same time. I'm grateful that not only have had the support of FIU to get me this far, but also have had the support of both the Larda Institute and the Seaworthy Collective that has recognized the potential, shout out to Daniel in the back, of what this can become. And actually showcasing this week at our spring showcase as well. So here's a little bit of our attraction. We have done, obviously, scientific research. Through my trials, I also worked with Coral Gables in the village of El Portal, where I did implement some of my trials in the field. I'm grateful we've had some features in the media, including the Herald and NBC recently, and through those features, folks from Pinecrest and North Miami have also shown interest to deploy some pilots as well. So essentially, where are we? We did find that iguanas liked my flowers as much as we liked our flowers. So there is some iteration necessary going forward. Need to work a little bit on the ideal setup for these floating wetlands. There are a few different products, a few different scenarios. So I did a little plug up there for our GoFundMe on raising funds for that. But overall, we're looking for folks who would be interested in continuing these pilots, applying for grants, and really finding, really finding ways to bring this to life, scale it for South Florida, show what we can do, bringing local flowers, cleaning water, and kind of having an opportunity to bring more of the community involved in the process, and do it in an innovative way. So I'm looking to also learn a little more. I mean, I've learned a lot today about how we can fund these initiatives. So folks who are involved in that, I'm interested in chatting with, as well as from municipalities. So here is my contact. Thank you all very much. And now we can go to happy hour.
Amazing. I can't wait to follow up that conversation with understanding whether these can be worked in our canals. And then Pelican Harbor's got the new space right on. My wheels are turning. So fantastic. I hope everybody else's wheels are turning. We're going to go back into the main room for a quick closing. And then we have a drink. And we enjoy. Look at this beautiful day. I'm so excited to get outside. While you're out on your way out, feel free to take a look and enjoy what we're here to protect and talking about. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in the main room in just a few minutes.